The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we'll take a look at an upcoming bilingual spectacle as we dig into the significance of the upcoming Bad Bunny halftime show. With Clark University professor Juan Pablo Rivera, we'll give a talk on the very subject at 33 Holly in Northampton tomorrow.
We'll also meet Ancient Grapes in East Hampton for a Wine Thunderdome at Tip Top Wine Shop, and Monty gets a reunion with an old friend to boot.
But first, we get a chance to read through the life of one of our heroes.
And next Monday, you can meet him in South Hadley as well.
Roddy Bottum is a musician, writer, creator, and actor based in New York City. He started with the band Faith No More in San Francisco in the early 1980s and toured the world, selling millions of records. In 1992, he came out of the closet and blew open the spectrum of what being gay in the world of rock music meant. That same year, he also formed the critically acclaimed band Imperial Teen, which is cited as one of the original pioneers of alternative queer rock.
This Monday, February 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley, Roddy Bottum is in conversation about his new memoir, The Royal We. We'll be joined by Andrea Lawler, creative writing professor at Mount Holyoke. Roddy Bottum joins us now. Thanks for joining us, Roddy.
Thanks, you guys.
This is so cool.
This book is, I would say it's fun, but it's dark and fun and reads in some ways like a fever dream.
Yes.
It's a nonstop roller coaster of your life in LA and then in San Francisco and New York and all over the world. And Faith No More is a band that was massively important to a young Monty.
Likewise, Imperial Teen for a young Khalees.
I saw the Falling to Pieces video and immediately started growing out my hair and grew it out until it fell out. And it was 100% because of Mike Patton headbanging in that video. But what really strikes me about this, well, let's first off start off, there are a lot of famous people that appear in this book, but there are very few last names.
Which I kind of really came to appreciate. It made it even more memoir-like. Like, we were sitting with you and you were just telling us stories about your life.
I think it was important for me to just let the narrative sort of speak for itself. And adding last names kind of puts this weird kind of fame monger like sense into the book that I really wanted to avoid as much as I could. Everybody knows who Courtney is. I don't need to say Courtney Love. Everybody knows who Kurt is. I don't need to say Kurt Cobain. It just kind of made sense, and it sort of made it a little bit more familial, if you will, to sort of refer to people just by their first names. And I kind of like the idea of the book kind of working kind of like a fairy tale, or a fable. And in that sense, I don't know, last names are just a lot of baggage.
Well, it's interesting because I was also imagining while reading it, like maybe there's a person that picked up this book for one reason or another, but doesn't know that the Courtney that is being referred to over and over and over again and is involved with the band Faith No More is the Courtney Love of Hole and the Courtney Love of Married to Kurt Cobain fame. But your relationship with Courtney in this is lovely. It paints a different side of Courtney Love than the media has often portrayed Courtney Love, and it shows a type of love that goes beyond romantic love, although that's involved in it to a small degree too. Tell us about the Courtney that you know, Roddy Bottum.
My voice is pretty provocative, and I'm really aware of what people say about Courtney, and I'm aware of the vitriol out there and how people don't like her. And in a lot of ways, it's a crazy, just sort of misogynistic angle of like people to talk about this woman who's like, oh, crazy. And that sort of rubs me the wrong way constantly. Like, I grew up with three sisters, and I feel really protective. It's offensive to me in the way that, women of a certain caliber of character and drama and for whatever sort of like reason, high-strunkedness are painted as witches or villains. And I knew just like writing about Courtney, like, first of all, she's so fun to write about, she's just such a colorful character and she's so strong. And I just think the provocative nature in me really wanted to combat what was out there and the way that people spoke about her. And it comes down to personal experience. Like, my relationship with her was only one of friendship and love and respect. Like, don't get me wrong, she's, a lot, but At the same time, it's like she's such a hero. I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't painting any sort of typical Courtney Love portrayal. I don't think I was sugarcoating anything, but I have a really high tolerance for drama,
It
and
seems like that. And
she's
that's
definitely that.
it comes through in the book, your high tolerance of drama, even the welcoming of drama many, many times in the course of the pages of this book. And the book is The Royal We, a new memoir from Roddy Bottum, musician, writer, creator, actor. Roddy will be in conversation about The Royal We at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley this Monday, February 2nd at 7 p.m.
Does it surprise or bother you that those layers of misogyny that you encountered in rock tend to have persisted?
Of course, it's troublesome. It's horrible. It's like the world is a horrible place right now. You know, we're struggling in so many ways. It seems like that's an easy one to fix. But the fact that it isn't is really troubling. Like, I don't know, we have so many things going wrong, and so much racism and so much, like, still, homophobic behavior and so much misogyny. It seems like there's really easy ones to fix. I mean, all of those really technically should be easy things to fix. It's constantly troubling to me, like, and surprising that people fall on the wrong side of the fence. I'm always shocked. In some instances, though, I think there's, like, for sure there's improvements in the world that have happened. It's something just as simple as, like, I always say, like, RuPaul's Drag Race, of all things. Like, it's such a silly show, but it made such leaps and bounds in terms of people becoming more accepting of queer people. That's a gesture in the right direction.
We're speaking with Roddy Bottum, who is now an author and a musician, writer, and creator. The new memoir is The Royal We. And in the book, you talk about coming out in the pages of The Advocate as a top-notch rock musician in a hugely famous band. And then you become this sort of role model that you never had growing up as a gay man in Los Angeles and then in San Francisco. My oldest son is 21 and has been lucky in the Pioneer Valley here in Western Massachusetts, which is very open and accepting, to have many queer icons, but not so many queer male icons, which I think is important to note. And you are that. Tell us what prompted you to make that bold move and some of the backlash that you experienced when you did.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I honestly, like, when I came out of the closet and sort of made the statement publicly, when I did, I was in a point in my life where I was being exposed to a lot of, like, 90s rock was really troublesome. Like, if you look back on videos, even like of those kind of hair metal bands, whatever, which I don't really necessarily feel part of, but they were definitely in our collective in the 90s, of like Poison or Warrant, or, like, I don't even know the bands, but if you look at those videos today, it's just, like, astounding what existed when we were that age and what was accepted. And I had the wherewithal at that point to sort of look at it firsthand. Like, at the point that I came out of the closet and spoke to the Advocate magazine, I was on tour with Guns N' Roses,
Yes.
which
I
at the
saw that tour, by the
time,
way, Foxborough Stadium, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Faith No More, one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to in my entire life.
damn, Monty, you were there in the
I was
house?
there. I'll also just briefly say before you go back to your story that I was grounded for sneaking out with my girlfriend when I was in 8th grade, and I was not able to go to the show. But Axl Rose flamed out, and they had to reschedule for like 2 or 3 months later, and I was no longer grounded and got to go to the show.
Wow, that worked to your advantage,
Yes, but
didn't it?
please continue about being on tour with Guns N' Roses and coming out of the
Yeah.
closet.
It was a weird time. Like, Guns N' Roses has just put out their second record, and I think there was a song on the second record that they used the N word, they used the F word, and it was
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
like,
The gay
really
F word.
offensive.
Yeah.
And me, I felt like it was a huge army of an organization that was on tour. And I felt like, honestly, the only queer person in that camp. And I was exposed to a lot of craziness, just the backstage scenarios. Like, I go into it in my book. There's sort of a crux of an episode that happens that really makes me kind of, like, have to step back and kind of come to the point where I have no choice but to make that declaration.
Hmm.
But it kind of all comes to a pinnacle of, like, wow, the misogyny and the toxic maleness of that camp of people at that point in my life. I was going through hardships myself. I was on heroin too, and I was, like, coming off drugs, and it was, like, a really difficult time. And I just had to separate myself from that world that our band was kind of immersed in at that point.
Hmm.
We got asked by, these big bands to go on tour with them, and it felt like a really good idea at the time, but at the end of the day, it was troublesome in that way. So I made a real pointed decision to come out of the closet and talk to Advocate magazine. As terms of fallout, really, Monty, none. There was no fallout.
That's
Like
great.
people kind of warned me, like even this was back in like mid 1990s, people were like, even our managers were like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm lucky that I had sort of the confidence at that point in my life to say, yeah, I'm sure I want to do this. Yeah, this is an obvious decision. But after it happened, it was only triumph. Kids across, the world would, wait for me outside of the quote stage door or whatever. And, just kind of thank me and hug me and talk about what a gift it was for them to have someone to look up to in that regard. And, that's sort of the triumph of my career, honestly. Not to be corny. I can be corny. I don't care.
We love it.
But it was just so rewarding. And there was no downside to that at all.
The timing of your coming out is especially important, too, because it's sort of at the point where the AIDS crisis ends up at a bit of a height because more people outside of the queer community are starting to get it, even though there's been all of that loss within the queer community. To have someone who comes out, who has enough attention on them to be like, but we're still here, is incredibly significant.
It was a troubling time. I don't think that Guns N' Roses song, that singer, I think he talks about AIDS in that song. I think that's how it comes up when he uses the F word, like in a critical way, like so disturbing. I mean, I say it again, but looking back on that era, we really just allowed so much horrible bigotry. I mean, and in that way, Kelly, it's sort of like we have come a couple steps forward. I think if we looked at that behavior right now, there's no way it would fly. And that says something about us as a people.
We're speaking with Roddy Bottum, whose new memoir is The Royal We. He will be at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley this Monday, February 2nd at 7 p.m. in conversation with Andrea Lawler, who is a creative writing professor at Mount Holyoke. I have to ask the burning questions of 1990s Monty, Faith No More, of you, Roddy Bottum. First off, at the end of the video for Epic, there's a fish dying on stage and you blow up a piano. Did the fish die? Did you actually blow up a piano?
I'm pretty sure the fish died.
I mean,
I don't
it's certainly
feel
dead
great
now.
about saying that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't feel great about saying that. And actually, like a long time ago or in the 90s, in a similar sort of vein in which we've been speaking, I don't think it was a hard thing to say. But now looking back and saying the fish died, it's kind of painful to say.
Yeah.
The piano blew up too. It wasn't a real piano, but it definitely blew up.
Okay. That's good. That part is very fun. The other thing is, your band re-enlivened my love of Lionel Richie, because in the midst of all this incredible heavy music, you do a cover of Easy. Whose idea was it to cover Easy as Faith No More?
I think it was a collective idea. We like I was saying before, I think I come from a real provocative stance, and I always have in like artistry. And we used to do cover of a Black Sabbath song just for fun because we thought it was so ridiculous when we first started. It was called War Pigs.
I love it.
And we kind of got a reputation for having that in our set, and people would expect it and cheer for it. Like even when we played live, like play War Pigs. So I think just in a provocative sense, we went the other direction. We're like, oh, you want to hear War Pigs? So we started playing Easy by the Commodores just to mess with people, if you will. That's the sort of people we were.
And now it's weird because I hear that song at Stop and Shop, and it is definitely the Faith No More version of it, not the Commodores version. I'm like, what a weird world we live in.
It was so wild. We got to make a video with that song too. We made it with all drag queens in England. It's
I love
a beautiful
it.
video.
Yeah, all those videos really were formative for me.
I feel like your youth reads like Lord of the Flies a little bit. Just like wild boys out in the hills of LA on bikes, getting drunk, finding the next thrill. And I think that there's a thread of that in some of the music of Faith No More and how you write about Faith No Man.
Which was the original name of the band before, yeah.
Right. I feel like that wildness is different in Imperial Teen. Can you talk about your writing for both bands and what Imperial Teen, what it meant to you, because you get into it in the book, but I think it's really beautiful.
Thanks so much. Yeah. I mean, Faith No More started when we were so young. We were just jumping into something that we had no idea what we were doing. And it was so unbridled and adventurous and just sort of, we were just throwing everything we had into a room, basically. And it was all about youth. And having done that band for a lot of years, we kind of reached a point of stasis in a way. And I had come out of the closet and I'd stopped doing drugs. So when I formed Imperial Teen, it was important for me to find a voice that was queer and that was familial. Like Faith No More was a real family band in the beginning, but having gone through 15 years of touring and making business decisions and living together, it's hard to sustain a relationship. So by the time I formed Imperial Teen, I needed something that was really cozy and familial and supportive, but ultimately very queer. And it was a band that I was able to sing in also. So I got to use my voice and use words in terms of like relating a queer perspective and sharing that with the world. I think that was the biggest difference.
One of the remarkable things in this book, I thought, that came out of nowhere for me, expectation-wise, apart from the how close you are to Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain and all these things that, you know, if you know Faith No More, you know about, is that the money that you got from like the first success of Faith No More, you invested in Apple and have probably made more money in that stock purchase than you would ever make as a rock star. Is that true?
Yeah, it's insanity. And it's something I kind of talk freely about. And people, like, when I wrote the book and I included that in the book, people were like, you know, my boyfriend was like, are you sure you want to share that? And even the publisher was like, hey, are you sure you want to share that? But it's such a fascinating thing in my life. And it's such a kind of it was like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And so just insane. We made like, just for you guys listening, in the book, I talk about the very first time Faith No More made any money. We've been touring for so long, like literally a year and a half, and we each got a check at the end of this excruciatingly long tour for $12,000, which back in 1992 or three or whatever it was just like the most money I'd ever seen in my life. And I was living with my boyfriend at the time in a one-bedroom like little place, and I didn't have to pay rent. We were going back on the road soon. So this boyfriend that I had, who was really troublesome and problematic, but super smart, kind of convinced me to buy Apple stock at that time. And so I did. And it was like way before the iPhone and way before, I think Steve Jobs was like coming back to the Apple company at that point. And I didn't need my money. So I was just like, all right, I'll do that. And I just sort of like bought $12,000 of Apple stock and boom. I mean,
multi-millionaire from it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry if it comes across as piggish or sort of entitled, but it was just a crazy thing that I did. We were such crazy kids. Like I had dreadlocks. I was smoking pot every day. I was like, when I wasn't touring, I was a bicycle messenger. So it wasn't like I was like a smart person. I mean, I was smart, but in a different way. But it is so much like, and it was so much like kind of winning the lottery that I feel okay sharing that. What do you guys think about that share? I'm just kind of canvassing the room at this point. Like it's a crazy thing to share, but it's fascinating.
No,
There's so much shocking stuff in the book that was shocking in such a different way that it felt so totally par for the course.
But also, like, it's indicative of the music industry in a way that I think is really stark. That like you get this large check and it's huge. Like $12,000 is still a lot of money.
I'd take it now.
But to know that you have this much renown, this much recognition, you're working that hard, and still the thing that made the most money for you was putting that money away in something else.
Yeah,
like,
gambling with billionaires.
Yeah, like it says something very drastic about the music industry.
and our economy in general.
Yeah, it wasn't the fame or the music industry that made me money.
Yeah.
It was this crazy accidental investment that I made.
Yeah.
And that's like an instance and a situation that's only gotten worse. Like people can't afford to be in bands anymore.
Yeah.
You know, much more even so than when I was young.
Well, we'll have to ask your old boyfriend for some stock tips for bands nowadays. Who's the only name that gets a last name in the book, Jim Olson, which is interesting because there is a person of renown in Western Massachusetts whose name is Jim Olson, who started a music festival and a record label out here. And the whole time I read it, I envisioned it as being him, but it is not.
It's not him.
It's not him.
And we are speaking with Roddy Bottum, who has a new memoir called The Royal We, Roddy Bottum of Imperial Teen and of Faith No More. And whenever I go to Provincetown, of Old Baby, which is this tiny little store on Commercial Street at the way end. And every time I've tried to go, I've missed the open hours. Although I will say when I was there last June, there was torrential rain and I was there half an hour before it was supposed to close, but it was already closed. But this year, 2026 goals, go inside Old Baby and buy some fun Old Baby merch. That's something you do with your partner, right?
I do. I don't. It's not my store at all. It's Joey's store. My boyfriend opened a shop in Provincetown. Yeah, it's a really cute store that sells kind of tourist stuff, but really like beautiful shirts. He designs all his shirts and his hats and his sweatshirts. It's a cute store. It's right across from the Dick Doc,
Yeah.
if you will.
So if I go there, Roddy Bottom is not going to be working the counter.
No. I work the counter. I do, but I'm simply a shop boy. I'm not the boss, but I'll be there.
Oh, good.
With a smile.
I can't wait.
I cook. I make an almond tart every Sunday for the store.
Oh, fun.
So if you come in on Sundays on the early side, you get a really tasty piece of almond tart. Keep that in mind.
I am going to keep that in mind.
We can't go through this interview without asking about the Sasquatch Opera.
Yes.
Oh, right. Thanks for asking. I wrote that opera because I had been doing score for television and film for a long time. I moved back to Los Angeles after Faith No More ended, and I was doing film and TV score, which ultimately was not super satisfying. At the end of the day, it kind of felt like kind of a superficial way to sort of spend my sort of years doing sprinkling of music on someone else's vision. For whatever reason, it like irked me in one way. And I was listening to a lot of opera at the time, and I had an idea for an opera. So I moved to New York to create an opera called Sasquatch. And it's kind of a fairy tale opera about Sasquatch. It's kind of a love story about Sasquatch in the forest and a dysfunctional family. There's crystal meth in the story. There's a blind man. There's Sasquatch. And it's kind of based around the premise of the gentle giant, if you will, like a Frankenstein or a King Kong or Elephant Man are all characters that I love, you know, when it's like a horrible like monster. And then if you dig a little deep, you're like, oh, there's a sense of intellect and a sense of sweetness and compassion. And I don't know, that just gets me every time. So it's sort of based around that. And I created the opera and I showcased it in New York City for a couple nights. And then I took it to Fringe Festival in Scotland, which is a big theater festival, for an entire month. And it hasn't been up on the stage since. But I saw someone last night, my band, Nasty Band. I'm in this weird art rock band called Nasty Band, and we played last night. And I saw my friend Gail there, who runs a theater across from the place that I'm moving into, a little theater that's been there forever. And she's like, oh, I got the clearance. If you want to do Sasquatch at the theater, you can do it. I was like, oh, hell yes. It put a new spring in my step. It's a hard thing to pull off, opera particularly, like theater just in general, because it's so expensive. And we had a big cast, like 12 people. It's a lot to do, and you don't make any money, but I love it so much. It's so satisfying.
Well, I offer you the theater that I run in Turners Falls, Massachusetts, in Western Mass, whenever you want to bring Sasquatch there, too. So 2 theater
Where's
offers.
that? Where's Turner Falls?
Turners
Is that near
Falls.
that bookstore?
It's right near the Montague book. Oh, no, well, it's not far from the bookstore you're going to be at, the Odyssey bookstore.
Yeah,
It's
about
about
like
half an hour from there.
No, but what's the bookstore that's like kind of like on a kind of a waterfall-y sort
Oh,
of
yeah, the
scenario?
Montague Book Mill, same town.
Is that Montague Book Mill?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's same town as my the little theater, the nonprofit theater that I run. So
Books you
Is it
don't
near
need in a place you
Amherst?
can't find.
it's 20 minutes from Amherst.
That sounds great. I'd love to take it there.
Let's
Let's
do it.
do that.
Okay.
I have good friends in Amherst. My niece is up there. It's going to be a fun time coming up there next week.
And you will be in South Hadley, which is another 15 minutes from Amherst, maybe. Monday, February 2nd, 7 p.m. at the Odyssey Bookshop, in conversation with the Mount Holyoke professor, Andrea Lawler. The book, the memoir, is called The Royal We. Roddy Bottom is the musician, writer, creator, and author behind this book. It was a roller coaster whirlwind, really fun read, and it's been an absolute delight talking with you.
But at the same time, as we mentioned early on, kind of like sitting in your living room and having tea with you while you tell these stories.
Yes, for sure.
Do you mean this conversation has been that way?
Oh no,
Or
the
South
book
Hadley's gonna
was
be
like
that way?
the book was like that.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. That's a really good analogy. Like, yeah.
Yep.
You can only hope for so much. You know, to like read something that's going to take you to a personal place and like feel like you're in a safe zone with somebody. I love that.
Yeah, it also was fun to be like, this happened in this year, but I'm not looking it up. Or this person is a person's name that I should know, but I don't care. I'm just going to keep writing. Definitely made it feel like a living room conversation.
And I love
not Googling it. It was old school.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Thanks for affording that. Yeah, thanks you guys for the conversation. That was a really sweet conversation.
Oh no, this is our pleasure. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Soon we'll turn our ears south to chat with Clark University professor Juan Pablo Rivera and NEPM News executive editor Elizabeth Roman about the impact and reach of Bad Bunny's upcoming Super Bowl performance.
But first, we may have Georgia on our mind, but with ancient grapes, not peaches, as we head to Tip Top Wine Shop for a Saperavi Wine Thunderdome.
And get a quick lesson in homemade Amaro while we're at it. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Eastside Grill, celebrating 40 years in downtown Northampton, serving steaks, seafood, and American cuisine to the Pioneer Valley and beyond. Open Wednesday through Monday, eastsidegrill.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Dean's Beans Organic Coffee, a locally based, worker-owned company committed to social and environmental responsibility, roasting fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee since 1993. DeansBeans.com.
Well, there's a national strike with some businesses going on today, and the folks at Tip Top Wine Shop are helping the cause by giving out free wine this afternoon, right?
That's right, from 4 to 7.
This and every National Strike Friday, you're giving out free wine from 4 to 7 at Tip Top Wine Shop?
That's exactly right, yeah.
And there was a nice reminder from the folks at Hot Plate that this national strike mostly applies to larger businesses that aren't paying their workers properly or correctly, but small businesses in your neighborhood probably can't afford to do that, so like maybe support them.
Yeah, small businesses literally in my neighborhood in Turners Falls, like Swanson's Fabrics are saying, please try to pay in all cash, or the Dream House in Turners is trying to, offer free coffee. I know Loot in Turners is doing something. And so people do what they can to fight fascism. And what we'll do is continue to rally around our beautiful community of the 413. And the Wine Thunderdome has once again returned to Tip Top Wine Shop in East Hampton with Miranda Brown and Lauren Clark. We're going to taste a grape that we mentioned on yesterday's show because they started trying to grow this grape, the Black Birch Vineyard.
They planted a few vines this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am also really curious how this is going to work because it seems like we have maybe similar area where it might work.
What's the grape?
It is Saperavi.
Saperavi, not a very popular grape for most amateur wine drinkers, but an interesting and up-and-coming grape for people that are delving more deeply into the less popular wine regions of the world, albeit some of the oldest wine regions of the world.
That's what I was going to do. I'm like, this is an older grape than most of those, but it's not really known in the West.
Where is Saperavi from?
It is from Georgia, the country.
No, not the state. It actually says that on the bottle. That
From
it's,
Georgia, the country?
Yes.
We need to get the FBI to investigate their voting records here in the Fulton County where these Saperavi grapes come from.
I mean, technically that would be more legal than what's being done.
Yeah, they could be. This first one we're tasting, what is it?
The name of the wine is Guardians Saperavi, and it has a really cool illustration of a fierce warrior woman in a bright red coat. And the guardians on these labels refer to basically the people who are the guardians of Georgian winemaking traditions.
Guarding it with a sword, fiercely guarding these winemaking traditions.
That seems in keeping with the Ural Mountains.
And if you want to keep Vladimir Putin away, maybe it's good to have a sword strapped on because a lot of what the former Soviet states have to do is find new markets depending on what their current relationship is with Russia and Vladimir Putin. I'm imagining the fact that we're getting this here in the United States means Georgia has soured in its relationship with Russia.
Yes, indeed. Georgia started seriously exporting their wines around 2006, which is when Russia blocked the imports of Georgian wine to Russia. Mm-hmm. So they had to go to international markets and basically up their game and produce better wines, and here we are.
And we've seen the same thing happen with Moldovan wines. We just talked about Ukrainian wines going through the same thing. Croatian wines have done it over the past, so here's to Georgia. Georgia. This smells very funky and stinky, and I love that.
It's got like a little bit of concrete and a little bit of blood.
I think it's delicious. It's fruity but dry. It's got pretty big tannins. It's a pretty heavy-bodied red. Have it with steak.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think cab fans could be persuaded to drink this. It's not ripe and jammy like a cab, but it's big, dark, it's got good tannins, it's got some good dark fruit to it.
This is both way fruitier and more austere than I was expecting it to be.
Who doesn't want a label that has some cool badass woman with a sword on it?
Chumps don't want
Chumps
it.
don't want it.
The importer of this wine says that the woman on the label honors Maya, who is Georgia's cross between Mulan and Robin Hood. She fled from a corrupt baron to the woods, where she dressed as a man, stole from him, and gave to the poor.
Yes! She's our hero too now.
Okay, Saperavi number 1, Guardians from Georgia.
The second one is from a winery called Sheltie. Same grape, same country.
This one is actually a 2020. The first one was a 2024.
What's up?
Our tiebreaker has arrived.
Yes.
Well. If it isn't Justin. We might need you as a tiebreaker, so don't go anywhere.
Justin was beer guy.
There's a lot of people that still know me as beer guy, but I'm not wine guy.
Sometimes we just need
You're
a
just
body.
beer guy.
No, we
Sometimes
just
we
like
just-
we don't need. You don't need to be a wine person. You just need to have an opinion.
One of my old beer drinking buddies and former Cancer Connection campout camper, beer guy,
Beer guy.
Justin, is here shopping at Tip Top Wine Shop while we here drink Saperavi number 2 from Sheltie. What did anybody think about this second one?
Earthy on the nose and a little funk.
Maybe even a little more funk,
Yeah,
but like a
it's-
sweet funk.
It's like camembert-y, like the rind of camembert.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think it's a little riper than the other one.
Camembert is my favorite Care Bear.
Care Bear stare.
No,
Like would release cheese from his belly.
that is an infection. Go get it seen.
What are you getting, Lauren?
I'm getting some fruity leather and a little tobacco.
I'm getting more of like an allspice or even an incense on the palate on this one, like a baking spice.
I think because this one feels lighter than the first one,
Definitely.
I'm getting more of those notes because they were there in the first one, but like much less.
This one has what wine snobs like to say is well integrated tannins, meaning it doesn't feel as strong. And this one you said is older, 4 years older, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
4 years
that's-
older, yep.
Those years in the bottle can lead to that. It mellows it out sometimes a little bit. so-
Tastes a little bit more refined.
Yeah. But both Saperavis taste Saperavi-y.
They both taste saperavish.
Saperavo is the singular. No, I'm sorry. That's Italian. Oh, you're having a raviolo?
I mean, if it's big enough, then yes.
We didn't even get beer guy a glass. Should we get him one?
Yeah.
You don't have to do. I don't need to twist your arm, beer guy. You're a beer guy. Too far away for me to record right now, anyway. To jump over the weird Korean Oreos or whatever those are.
That's right.
Yeah, they're
weird
Korean.
Oreos.
What flavor of Korean Oreos do you have right there?
Right now we have peach and oolong tea, raspberry blueberry, matcha ice cream. This is like a birthday cake cupcakes with sprinkles in it. Not sure how that's a flavor. Vanilla mousse. And this is just kind of chocolate and vanilla with a real nice little princey looking guy on the cookie there.
We'll have to see how these fancy Oreos compare with the Girl Scout cookie fake Oreos. I want to try them.
Is that-
I heard rumor that Girl Scouts now have like a fake Oreo cookie.
But it's got chocolate filling. I have a box on my desk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me one.
I haven't opened it yet.
Anything fun coming up at Tip Top Wine Shop that you want to tell the folks about, Lauren?
We have a big red, winter red tasting on February 14th.
That's Valentine's Day.
It's also Winterfest in East Hampton.
Oh, cool. Beer guy, you're no longer in the alcoholic beverage world, but you're making an alcoholic beverage in your basement
Yeah, I'm making a black walnut Amaro in my basement.
that you'll just share with your friends, right?
Maybe, yeah. Are you asking? Yeah.
Tell us how you do it without
s-
revealing your trade secrets.
Yeah, trade secrets. It is an acidic white wine. I like to use a neutral grain spirit that's not too rubbing alcohol-y.
Yeah.
Also not too potatoey because that doesn't go well. You need a sugar source, so that can either be a sweeter wine variety or some actual sugar, and then a bunch of black walnuts that you take off your neighbor's tree and know that they won't mind because no one actually likes black walnut fruits. And you crack them open in a big jar and wait 5 months.
And this isn't the first time that you've made it, right?
It's the second time.
So this is Amari.
It's vintage 2, whatever that is.
So in the Wine Thunderdome, beer guy, we all vote. 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves, just like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
All we want is life beyond the
if it should come to the fact that we might have a tie, you, beer guy, would be the tiebreaker. You want to vote first?
No.
Okay, so you only want to be the tiebreaker. Okay, yeah. Okay. Poor guy. He just walks off the street, hasn't seen me in 5 years.
We're like, hey, drink wine.
Get on the radio and drink wine now.
And we're like, peer pressure.
We broke up. Okay, we got two Saparavis. We've got one Guardian Saparavi with the beautiful label with the Guardian woman with a sword, and we've got the Sheltie. The Heritage Saparavi is a little bit older. The Guardians is a 2024. Anybody ready to vote?
I'm ready.
Lauren Clark, Tip Top Wine Shop, East Hampton.
Sheltie Winery, please.
One for the Sheltie.
2 for the Sheltie.
I'm going Sheltie here.
Beer guy, it doesn't matter what we vote. We could just not vote. We could abstain. You don't need to be the tiebreaker, but if you had to vote, do you know which one you like better?
Yeah, Sheltie takes it.
I also was going to vote for Sheltie, so it's unanimous.
I feel like the age on this might have given it a pretty big lift.
Yeah.
But that's good to know too, because it means if you're picking up the Guardian now, like, and hanging on to it for like a year or two, expect something that's got a lot of finesse in bottle. Like, it's gonna be fruity, but have good tannins and just a little bit of spice. Like, it's gonna mellow into this thing that we're drinking, that one.
Yeah. Like, you could buy the Guardians now, the 2024 vintage, and then in 4 years, when Putin invades Georgia, you could open it up to try to toast the poor people of Georgia and their current plight.
Or, like from our bunkers.
When our new dear leader, Vladimir Putin's in charge, who's now pictured in the White House currently, if you didn't see that.
I didn't.
Fun, fun, fun. Hey, national strike today.
Hey! But not for small businesses.
Georgia.
Check out more information about Tip Top's Winterfest tasting through their website. And thanks as always to Lauren and Miranda for tasting with us.
And now, to get you more familiar with the global sensation that'll fill folks' TV screens for the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show, and let you know where you can learn even more about Bad Bunny this Saturday.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, dedicated to custom solar installations, electric vehicle charging solutions, and reliable long-term system support. northeast-solar.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. This Saturday at the Northampton Center for the Arts at 33 Holly, Understanding Bad Bunny. A talk with Professor Juan Pablo Rivera.
What are some basic facts that all Americans might want to know about the biggest global star who hails from Puerto Rico? What are his lyrics about, and why does his music appeal to listeners across the world?
And why is he playing the halftime show at the 2026 Super Bowl betwixt the Seattle Seahawks and your New England Patriots?
They're your New England Patriots. Professor Juan Pablo Rivera teaches at Clark University. He's a graduate of Yale and Harvard, is the author of 2 books of essays and 2 poetry collections, and has published over a dozen articles on Latin American literature and the study of gender and sexuality.
His latest scholarly book, Futuro País Imaginario, Future Imaginary Country, analyzes the different futures that Puerto Rican literature imagines for a country that seems to have precarious political, economic, and climatological destiny.
He joins us now, as does one of our favorite Boricuas here at NEPM, Elizabeth Roman from the NEPM News Department. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This is an exciting thing that even my wife, who's a Spanish professor, immediately tripped her radar because she loves Bad Bunny. But
who doesn't?
Well, this is public radio, and so maybe some people have no clue who Bad Bunny is, even though he is, I think, currently the biggest global superstar. Eclipses Taylor Swift internationally. He's the biggest music star in the world right now.
And it's been a long time coming.
So who is Bad Bunny, Professor?
Okay, so he originally was a bag boy at a supermarket in a small town in Puerto Rico as he struggled to go to college, which he dropped out of college, and he would moonlight as a music creator on the internet, on SoundCloud. Eventually, he would get to do collaborations with Cardi B and Drake, and that's when he first came into our radar. This was maybe like 2018, and then started doing really interesting things in the reggaeton genre, playing with gender particularly, which was unusual at the moment. And then 10 years later, not even, he is going to be playing the halftime show at the Super Bowl. We have a story of rags to riches.
Bad Bunny has represented something for Puerto Rico, the island, in a way that maybe other musicians haven't haven't risen to that occasion in that way, and especially because of the residency that he did on the island over, was it the summer? Was it that long ago now?
Yeah.
I remember my whole family gathered around the TV to watch the broadcast concert from Puerto Rico. He is not only a global superstar, but what he represents and what he means to mean for the island of Puerto Rico is something that seems unique. Is that the case in your opinion, Professor Juan Pablo Rivera?
I don't know about unique, but certainly important in the sense that he has brought a lot of attention to the many difficulties that the island has experienced, not only due to colonialism, but also to many other reasons, like government corruption, for example, poor infrastructure, lack of proper health services for an aging population, people leaving the island, the many blackouts as well. I should say his residency is unique in terms of the amount of money that it brought to Puerto Rico.
And he at the time said he was not going to tour on the mainland in the United States because of the situation with ICE, and instead made a very conscious decision to make people who wanted to see him have to come to Puerto Rico.
Exactly, and his shows not just in Puerto Rico, but also in Rio, Mexico, Spain were sold out, so an important cultural moment.
I definitely think something that's interesting about him is that he's very inclusive of the diaspora, right? So I grew up here in Massachusetts. My parents are from the island, but I grew up here, and especially in his latest album, like he starts with the song Nueva York, right? So you get this sense of how it is he gives a sense of like inclusivity that doesn't always happen. Like having grown up here and having this feeling of like I'm not quite American in the way that like my white friends were, but I was also not truly like Boricua because I didn't grow up there. I didn't know all the slang. I didn't know all the language. And oftentimes they would make fun of me and think like I talk like a gringa because my accent was different. So I've just loved that he's embraced both sides, and he's like, it doesn't matter. What is that saying? Like hasta la luna, right? Like if wherever you were born, even if you're born on the moon, you are Puerto Rican. So he really embraces that, and I value that so much. And I think in this latest album, he's really showcased that.
And I feel like sound-wise, in his last two albums, he's been embracing that too, sonically. Like it's not just reggaeton, which was definitely his origins, but he's branched out into like having more salsa, having rumba, like having samba, like having all of these sounds of the Latin diaspora included in his albums.
Absolutely. Seeing Bomba en Plena on like a massive stage is an incredible thing. We see it here in little local functions that I've covered over the years, and my parents have taken me to events, and so we know what that is locally, and to see Jibaro hats and all of that, but to have him put that on a global stage it's sort of surreal.
Absolutely. I have a very diverse class of students, as I was mentioning, and something I asked them recently, hey, I claim, whenever I present about Bad Bunny, I claim that he makes other Latinos feel seen. Do you agree with this? I have students from like Dominican Republic, from Guatemala, Peru, Colombia, and they're like, yeah, we feel seen. So that is part of his impact as well.
Like one of his really popular songs, like Titi Me Preguntó.
Yeah.
He's got like this Dominican influence, and Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, we have so many similarities. Like we fight among ourselves, but like outwardly we're a joint unit, And he showcased that, like how the mix, especially of Dominicans who live on the island and also in New York. So yeah, I would say he's representative of Latino culture as a whole, not just Puerto Rico. Although he is very Puerto Rico proud and Puerto Rico centric, of course.
We're speaking with Elizabeth Roman from the NEPM News Department, as well as Professor Juan Pablo Rivera from Clark University, who this Saturday at 33 Holly will be teaching a open lecture called Understanding Bad Bunny, which I encourage you to bring your parents, your uncles, anybody who you think is going to freak out when Bad Bunny hits the largest music stage in the world, really, at the Super Bowl halftime show. And no doubt there will be many, including the President of the United States, who are unhappy that Bad Bunny has such a huge platform.
As an aside, if you haven't seen Josh Johnson's bit about Bad Bunny playing the Super Bowl, watch it.
Talk about what that means politically for you as a professor, maybe for you as a news director, but both from a Puerto Rican background, about what you anticipate this will mean on this highly commercialized, problematic in many different ways, NFL stage.
What will it mean? Well, first of all, a moment of pride for our communities, right? I don't know anything about football, but I watch the Super Bowl, particularly, mostly for the ads. But the idea that there will be a show that is primarily in Spanish and that recognizes that Spanish is the second major language in the U.S., that the U.S. is maybe the 4th largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. And I say maybe because we can't know for sure, right? We don't know how large our immigrant population, Spanish-speaking population is. So it changes the idea that we have of the United States, right? Can we think of the U.S. as part of Latin America? No, right? Can we think of the U.S. as a Spanish-speaking country? No. So it changes that perception. We'll be looking out to see who the guest artists are as well.
Like who he decides to platform as special secret guests.
Right.
Yeah, like if you remember last year's Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar was there, and there was Serena Williams showed up, Samuel L. Jackson showed up, and it was very, very political.
Right.
And he's been a feature too. He was on before was it with Cardi or with J-Lo? I'm
with
not sure when
Cardi.
he was on, but he has been on the Super Bowl stage in the past. It's not like unheard of that he's going to be there. I also think like from a news perspective, I wouldn't say it's interesting to see, but it's expected to see that a lot of people still don't know that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States. The relationship, the colonization, and it's brought up a lot of conversations about what it means to be Puerto Rican on the island, what it means to be Puerto Rican on the mainland, if you will, what our connection is politically. So that's been fascinating to watch, to see people fully not understand that Puerto Rico has all of these ties to the U.S., that English is spoken there as well. I'm curious to see how people will feel once they see him on the stage, and if they'll feel that otherness or if it'll feel like a one unity kind of a thing.
For the NFL, this is 2 political halftime shows that they've done in a row. I'm not entirely sure what to make of this for them. Regardless of what they intended and getting the biggest star at the time, that's a political statement both times, and it sets a certain precedent for what they're putting in the middle of this giant global spectacle.
I don't know who's making those decisions, but I stand by them for the last several years. I mean, even when Beyonce was on top of a police car in the middle of all of the talks about Black Lives Matter and police brutality, somebody is deciding we want everyone to see this.
But also for a game that does decidedly ruin black bodies.
Oh, for sure.
Right, absolutely.
And it's a microcosm of war itself, really. But I still love it.
Yeah, I don't think the show will be like overtly political, right? Well, is he going to make a statement against ICE? I don't think so, like a very open one because of the venue, but just the choice, right, of the artist, and just, performing in Spanish is itself a political act as well. I would love to see a Venezuelan flag in there somehow, or a Venezuelan performer. I think he'll be limited by the venue.
But there's some possibilities there
Yeah.
too, because
Can't stop everything.
right, and the opposition that's been brought up is like, it's going to be in Spanish. I don't understand that. It's like, awesome. I'm going to say all the things I want to because y'all can't translate.
There's also been this phenomenon. I've been following a couple people who, he did the SNL skit where he was like, you got 4 months, learn the language.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so many people have, Duolingo has partnered with him and had like a little, the little icon out in the streets of New York dressed like Bad Bunny and teaching people Spanish. So it's been nice to see like Puerto Rican Spanish be put on display, because for so long, I think we've been ridiculed for the way that we speak Spanish. We have this like Spanglish version that isn't quite like a Spaniard Spanish, but so it isn't formal or it isn't official. And I remember growing up, I don't know if you had the same experience, but growing up and having a lot of people who taught me Spanish in school, like professors say that the way that I was speaking was wrong. So the fact that this is the Spanish that's being put on the Super Bowl, that this is the music that's going to be up there is just, it's so exciting.
Yeah, that's really important. Spanish has its own language hierarchies, just like English does, right? Where one is valued, the Spanish from Spain or the Spanish from Argentina is valued over the Spanish from the Caribbean in general, right?
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of reasons for that. Colonialism.
Elizabeth Roman from the NEPM News Department, you are my age, and Bad Bunny, it's for the kids. We're all a bunch of olds sitting around here talking about
Bad
he's
Bunny
for everyone.
is for the kids in the same way that Woo is for the children.
Wu-Tang is for the children. Tell us about your relationship with Bad Bunny and the language and the slang, because it's not necessarily the language or slang that you might have grown up speaking.
Yeah, so my best friend has been a big fan of him since he first came out. She's really a big fan of J Balvin, and they had done some collaborations together. So she would put him on in the car, and he's incredibly vulgar. Like his music, it is what it is. Like I grew up super religious, and so I didn't listen to reggaeton growing up. And it wasn't that I couldn't appreciate what he was doing. I understood what he was trying to do, but it was just too much for me. So I didn't listen to a lot of his early stuff. I was definitely like on the Bad Bunny hater train. Like, this is too vulgar. It's like disrespectful of women in some ways. But then over time, I think it was very intentional with him, right? So he did this stuff that he knew would draw in a big crowd, a much larger crowd of people who love reggaeton and who like a particular style of music. And then slowly he started incorporating, like in 2020, 2020, he did Compositor del Año, which was this song talking about like,
It's
you know, political violence. And then he had like El Apagón. So you start hearing about, he adds these political things mixed in with that kind of like popular and still very vulgar music that he was playing before. But then this last album, how could I not listen to it? It was just such I wouldn't say it's not what he has been doing, because it was, but in a different way, like in a way that reached that I could share with my parents, right?
Yeah.
In a way that I couldn't share his music before, but I sat down with them and we watched the video that he did with the professor.
Jacobo Morales.
Ese mismo, Jacobo Morales, perdona. So we sat down and we watched the video and we talk about how Puerto Rico is changing and his love letter to the island and also to the diaspora. And so that's been my journey with him. I'm not going to pretend that I was like always on the Bad Bunny train, because I was not. And a lot of my friends also were not, because we grew up very sheltered. But now, like, I'm fully on board. I still probably won't listen to his stuff from his earlier years. I like much more what he's doing now. But yeah, I'm curious to see like how your students feel.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, some of the lyrics are still to this day like very sexually explicit, and still to this day I will not. There are certain songs that I will tell my students, hey, I really love this song, but I'm not going to play it in class. just
Listen on your own time.
Yeah, for example, his Reggaeton EO in the latest album. It's a fun reggaeton. It brings me back to the 1990s, growing up in Puerto Rico and being in high school, right? But it is very sexually explicit, so that's the type of song that I won't discuss in class. I think once we saw that he was doing something different with the genre, which probably started in around 2018, 2020, that's when many scholars and journalists were like, oh, there's something different here. Now this person is informed or oriented by another project, a project of inclusivity, gender inclusivity. He put out a video, Yo Perreo Sola, where he's dressed in drag. It's like terrible drag, right? And we can criticize the video for many reasons, such as queer baiting, pinkwashing, but still, the attempt to do something different within a genre that's often seen as very heterosexist, homophobic, is valuable in itself. And he has, I think, continued to grow from there.
I mean, he's literally growing up, right? He was, 16, 17-year-old bag boy. Like,
Thank you.
He's developed as an artist, and we're seeing him develop and grow as a human being, as a person.
Actually, can we talk a little bit about his connection and allyship to the queer community? Because like that's one of the touch points that I got connected with him with when he showed, I can't remember which TV show he was on, but wearing a Save the Dolls shirt.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, like that's not something that happens in reggaeton like at all.
Yeah, no, I think it happens in reggaeton, but it doesn't happen in the mainstream reggaeton, right? It's not something that we see often. So you might be referring to, maybe it was Jimmy Fallon. He showed up wearing a t-shirt. Alexa was more than a man with a skirt. Right. And this was in reference to the murder of a trans woman in Puerto Rico at a time when several women were being, trans women were being murdered. Puerto Rico has a high rate of femicide, but particularly, if you're trans, you're more at risk. So he was calling attention to a way that the news were portrayed in the mainstream media as well. No, this wasn't just a guy in a skirt, who was killed. This was a trans woman who was like brutally murdered. So calling attention to that. Something that he was also doing with Yo Perreo Sola, where he shows up in drag, and at the end of the video there's this message that says, if she's twerking alone, that's the name of the song, right? She twerks alone. If she's twerking alone, be respectful. Let her twerk alone. Club. And then in Caro, a video from 2018, he hires the first non-binary model who portrays him in the video, right? Where we see him painting his nails, which then later would become a trend thanks to social media. So there are definitely these attempts at inclusion. Are they like the perfect attempts? No, but we all like fumble gender here and there every so often. Again, I think there's been growth. And then in his Residencia, which you mentioned, Monty, last year he featured several queer artists by artists as well. So there are definite attempts at inclusion.
Well, you have 1 week to prepare for Bad Bunny taking the biggest stage in the world when he is the headliner of the Super Bowl halftime show. I would like to think that Bad Bunny is rooting for the New England Patriots because there are so many Puerto Ricans who live in Holyoke, Massachusetts, which is certainly in Patriots country. But if you have people that are curious about what this Bad Bunny experience is going to be like on Super Bowl Sunday, why not come this Saturday to the Northampton Center for the Arts, 33 Holly, and bring the folks who need to understand Bad Bunny, because the name of the talk is Understanding Bad Bunny with Clark University Professor Juan Pablo Rivera, who's been joining us, as has the NEPM News Department's Elizabeth Roman. I couldn't be more excited about the entirety of the Super Bowl, but even before I knew who was going to be in it, when they announced Bad Bunny, I watched the trailer that Bad Bunny put out there.
Trailer.
It's a beautiful about the musical performance. I'm getting all emotional even just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It'll be great, as will your conference on Saturday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
This is
you.
great.
It's going to be a fun one.
Next week on the Fabulous 413, we'll talk about the United Ways Ski United.
Ski Unite.
Ski Unite. Ski Untie.
We'll also meet some of the groups that are singing at the Silver Cord Bowl.
We'll meet the new head of the Western Mass Economic Development Council, Aaron Vega.
And we'll explore an exhibit at HCC that looks at the potential futures for the Connecticut Valley.
There's a little bit of sad local news. MJ Adams, who is a big part of Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity and part of economic development in Greenfield, just announced that she passed away. And then the United States and the world is mourning the death of the great comedic actor Catherine O'Hara.
I'm still really bummed about this.
We leave you with her comedic partner, Eugene Levy, as Mitch and Mickey from A Mighty Wind. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Cleve Smith. Go watch all the Christopher Guests this weekend, y'all.
More precious than a part of gold.